Well, welcome back to Retro Wednesday at the Tidarium Hangar. This is Mike, and today I want to talk to you about my vintage collection display room, where I'm going with it. This used to be all storage. This whole wall we're looking at right here used to be all just storage boxes. Yes, I still have some storage going on there too, but we're going to talk about this. I'm going to talk about what I've accomplished in the last couple months. I'm going to go through shelf by shelf and kind of show you the good and the bad. Hopefully you get ideas of what to do, what not to do when displaying your vintage stuff, and then kind of give you an update on where I am with collecting all of these many different lines. I think I'm up to 15 vintage lines I'm actively collecting right now, and working on even more possibly in the future. And of course, juggling modern stuff at the same time. This room, my goal is 100% vintage. We're going to do that. Talk about this coming up. So looking at the Centurion stuff that I have here, I started collecting this early 2019, and I thought it was expensive then. Now I've kind of screeching halted stopped on this because it's gotten outrageous. The prices have gotten so ridiculous that it's insane. But well, I like to break it up into different kind of shelves. So starting at the bottom, you got all of Jake's stuff, and then let's see. Jake, and then we got Ace, and then we got Max, and then up here we're all the bad guys. So again, people say, why do you have more than one? Well, first of all, for the strafers, you're supposed to have an army of strafers. I mean, they take on 10 of them in an episode. So same thing with that. There should be more traumatizers, but they're hard to come by. And I don't know if you noticed, but I kind of did some cardboard cutouts behind it, or just picture cutouts to make it look like I have 6 on the shelf when I only have 3. But anyway, some optical illusions right there. So I do use comic books as backgrounds. I got a bunch of comic books for a good price, and although most of them are like 6 of the same one, it still looks good. You still see some Centurions back there, and I'm not messing up my shelves by doing anything to the back of it or having to tape or glue or anything, so there's always that. Now right here, I'll admit I have something that's not vintage, and I don't know where else I'd want to put these, but these Destroyer droids, they're a lot of fun. I like Destroyer droids. I think out of the prequels, that's the best thing that came out of the prequels. A lot of people think Maul's the best thing that came out of the prequels, or Jango Fett, or Anakin. Not really. I don't think Anakin was the greatest thing. Anyway, with Centurion stuff up top here, I do like having extra suits to chill. It's addictive. Centurions is addictive because you get... I'm only missing 3 parts to complete another suit. Well, in order to buy those 3 parts, you buy a lot, and then you have 2 more suits that are about half complete that you want to try to complete. So either you stop or you just keep going into the madness. I mean, 1 or 2 things that have to happen. You're either going to say, I am done, and I'm not getting any more stuff, or you just keep going with the crazy madness. As I've said before, I still have some stuff stored here. Really, I could get rid of all of it, but I like knowing certain things that are over here. I know they're there. Some of the exclusives and all of that. And I'm not going to lie, sometimes I get a really smart idea how to store something and I forget where I put it, so I don't want to do that. So next up, we're going to look a little deeper in this, but we've got some Captain Power. So I think this whole shelf's going to be Captain Power. I did not realize how much stuff was involved with Captain Power. There's like 10 vehicles and... or more vehicles and play sets and stuff than there are actual figures. There's 10 figures and I think 11 or 12 of vehicles and play sets added all up together. Really doesn't make sense. It's crazy. I would think they would have made more figures than vehicles so you could populate multiple figures on vehicles or play sets. Really, it's strange. Blows my mind. Anyway, let's look at this a little closer. So getting into these, I found that a lot of, say, Tank is pretty common, and of course Captain Power, everyone has Captain Power, and almost everyone has a Dread. So the lesser common ones, it seems like everyone has this guy here too, Sergeant Masterson, is that what his name is? Anyway, so these guys here are pretty hard to come by because they're the later series. Tritor is kind of hard to come by. But the ones that are impossible to come by are the Dread Troopers, which should have been made. You should have like hundreds of Dread Troopers. And since you don't have Dread Troopers, people like me stock up on Saurons and Blaststars. But I did do a Retro-Wed Wednesday video on those, if you want to go check that out. But those are pretty cool. I like the Transfield base and all that stuff too. I thought it was stupid the first time I saw it, but the more and more I looked at it, the more I realized how ingenious it was, actually. This is a great toy line. They should have gone further. They actually did, and a lot of stuff didn't get released. Down here, I kind of have the base just on the floor. I'm not a fan of stuff just sitting on the floor. I want everything on the shelf, but a base like this might just have to stay on the floor. And it's okay in that corner there. It looks good. Now this is a future shelf. I plan on maybe permanently putting in that Captain Power background. I got some box stuff that I don't have loose. I'd rather have loose stuff in here. I'm not really looking to get box stuff displayed so much in here. So I want loose stuff in here if that's possible. But anyway, I think that's going to look really good in the future. I need more stuff here. So when I do get more stuff here, that'll look good. And I got the ships. Okay, I got a little extra RoboCop stuff here, so when I allocate more space for RoboCop, I can include all of this, but I'm in the process of, I think I'm going to restore that one. He needs a little restoration, so I might do a video on that one too, depending on if anyone likes the helicopter restoration, which I think is a much bigger project than doing a Robo 1. Robo 1 is like the easiest of the easy projects, but so here's my Gobots display. I did review both of these play sets, and I like these. I guess I need some Gobots in the background, so that's something for the future to start working on. Some sort of a picture in the background. I'll show you these pictures that I make too as I go. Looking at this, it's fun to see this stuff displayed. It's been kind of on a shelf, and I haven't seen the shelf for years. It's just behind other things, and so now to have it out in the open, it's a whole lot more fun. I do appreciate GoBots so much more now that they're out. Go down here. This is going to be an upcoming Retro Wednesday video. Let's get the camera lower here. This is mini Thundercats. Here they are. The print that I found for the background is just beautiful, and these things look good on a shelf. There's plenty of empty space here. Don't worry, I'm not going to leave that empty space. I'm going to do a whole lot more with this shelf in the future. But moving over, I'm trying to keep things grouped, so I'm grouping. I am grouped. This is the Mumra playset. And again, I made those eyes myself, and I made all the stickers for it myself. And it was kind of fun. It's kind of a fun playset. It fits perfect in this space, which makes me think, oh, well, then I guess it was meant to be, wasn't it? Moving up to this is a challenging toy line to collect because it's so expensive. And you look at the figures and you go, they don't look like they should be that expensive. They don't look like they should be $100, $200. Some people are paying like $600 to get a complete one of these. I think it's insane. But people like what they like. These are not rare in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I can find 10 of any of these on the shelf. 10 of them today. I could go find 10 of them out in the wild that I could buy. But everybody in the wild wants $200, $150, $130, $600, some crazy prices for them. So, but they are kind of fun once you get your hands on them. I think the Super 7 stuff is so much better. We'll blow it out of the water. Look at Sectars. So Sectars, just like, let me get some lighting too. So just like I did with the Captain Power stuff you saw, like I did with, you just saw with Thundercats, I really didn't talk about it so much, but you see they're kind of stepped up. So what I did is I just took some 2x4s, cut them to fit the shelf properly, and I painted them with just some spray paint. And I put like 4 coats, so it looked good to match. That's why I like the black shelves, because you can just get $1 black spray paint and then just paint it. Make sure it's dried and then wipe it so any excess comes off, so excess doesn't rub off onto your figures. So there's always that situation to worry about. Sectars are a lot of fun, and looking at it, I have the base, the hive. Next to it, I have one of the winged flyers, and I have all of these other ones. So trying to keep it grouped together, I have all these guys. Shine some light on the situation over here. So all the puppets are up above, trying to use all of the space. And as you can see, like behind there, I've got Voltron. That's an extra Matty Collector Voltron stacked in there and boxed. The thing about it is that I just knew that I couldn't put this base in front of a shelf. So I went this route. And I think it worked out pretty good. Let's move this back and see here. I think it worked out really well. So as you see, this shelf over here and a shelf over here, I kind of split it, and I have just like one stops here and one starts there, and then I put an extra shelf over here because I was up a shelf. So that's just connecting the two so I could line those on top. So that's an idea. Like, think outside the box when you do your displays. So with the Sectars, I do have right here, that is a KO Sectar. Really cool. I mean, the KO Sectar I think is pretty cool. It's shorter than the regular ones. I've probably got a couple more coming in. I just wanted to kind of see what the difference was, and The real Sectars are so much better quality than the KO ones, but I'm kind of intrigued by vintage KOs. Alright, so here we are with Tron. It's not Voltron, it's just Tron. I never was a huge Tron fan. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I watched the movie, whatever, I went on. But I had a couple figures, and I said, well, I only need 2 more figures and a couple of light bikes, so let's do it. So I went ahead and jumped in on it. And so I might be taking a closer look at these in the future, but not just yet. I did something that I think is a lot of fun. I'm going to kill the extra lighting I have, just so this effect works. But, wow, that is bright. But I think it's kind of fun, just having a light and it lights up. It looks so much better. The camera is just, it's just destroying the camera. In person, it's beautiful. You can see the translucent figures. And also, having these ones that, these other figures here that are from Walgreens, I really like those. They look good, and I think that it shows kind of past and present and future. This is the kind of stuff that I think you can accent your vintage display with 1 or 2 modern pieces. Okay, looking at A-Team stuff here, and so there's the 5-inch A-Team, and getting all of the accessories matched up for them just right was a challenge. Now, getting the accessories wasn't the challenge, but matching it up was the challenge. One of the other things I wanted to do was to put the 3 3/4 inch figure with the 5 or 6 inch. Are they 5-inch or 6-inch? Anyway, 5 or 6-inch figures. So I matched all of them up. I don't have any accessories on them. That they would not fit on the shelf with their backpacks and all the crazy stuff that they come with. But I do have that stuff tucked away in a box somewhere. I don't know if they're complete or anything because I didn't care and I didn't spend a lot of money on them. A-Team's kind of fun. Ertl plastic van. But these 2 guys cost more than all the other figures out there, the variants. I debated whether I'd even go after them, but I did. A buddy of mine in the UK hooked me up. Thanks, bud. But that's kind of how these things go. Variant stuff is so expensive, no matter what the toy line. Next up, we have Chuck Norris and the Karate Commandos, and I like this shelf. I did put a little, let's see if I can go a little lower here. Maybe I can go a little lower. But I did put a little bit of a background in there so you can see Chuck Norris, Karate Commandos. I do have some card backs which kind of work. I probably should line the rest of this corners with card backs. And you know, one of the other things is this shelf worked out okay, but because of the Sectars Hive, and I didn't really think about this when I started setting this up, is that you can't really see the light, doesn't get back there. But there's no such thing as too many ninjas in my opinion. So when it comes to these, like, I'm done buying those, except for I might pick a few more ninjas up just so it dials out the collection a little bit better. So next up we have some Karate Kid. I was really surprised how expensive Karate Kid was, because to me it was a failed toy line. So a lot of these toy lines in here are failed toy lines, and failed toy lines are expensive in the future because there's not very much in existence. And for every one of these figures having 2 to 4 variants, and I'm pretty sure there's 4 the Karate Kid, Ralph Macchio's character, and all the rest of them have 2 or 3 or 4 variants. It's annoying trying to get them all, to where I probably don't care to get them all. I've gotten all these. This was way more expensive, way more money than I thought that I'd ever have to spend on Karate Kid figures. I thought, man, I could get me like a nice little lot for $200 that has it all. Not gonna happen. That's just crazy. One thing about setting this up, I did use like the 2x4 I was talking about, propped up the back. I've got a little fight scene together going, and I've got the referee. I don't have the playset, but I just have the referee. And I made this little picture here that looks like the mat. And then if you look at this, they're about to match. I put like the dark colored geese on this side, moving to light colored geese over here. I mean, really, there's no figures made to be fans of Ralph Macchio. He's just got Miyagi, so there's that. Over here it looks like a bunch of training going on, and then like I kind of in my mind view this background piece here as maybe they were in Okinawa or whatever. Looking in here at John Blackstar, I've got it next to my A-Team stuff here. This is a fun toy line, an old toy line, early 80s, and I kind of didn't know a whole lot about it, but I wasn't sure if I'd even jump into it. But I bought a couple collections, pieced them together, and I pretty much got everything now that I want. There's a handful of things that I don't have that I might get down the road, and I've got to reconfigure display. But this is, I have, like with my whole 2x4 setup, 2 in the back, 2 high in the back, and then I have 1 more step down, and then I have these guys. So that's how that works, and it looks good. It's cathedral style. I like this. A lot of people say, well, Mike, that still looks junky. It's just a lot on there. I don't think so. I like the way that looks. This is, to me, it's perfect. And why do I have 2 of this guy? Why do I have 2 of this guy? It's because they have the little lighting thing in their chest. So some are the sparkers and some are not the sparkers. First run series, not sparkers. Second run, were sparkers. I think the sparkers are actually more valuable. So this shelf here is the Galaxy Rangers. I wasn't going to get into them. I thought they were kind of silly because I never had them. And the more people talked about them, the more I realized they're a small toy line. It'd be easy to complete and get every one. I do have the Queen coming in. She's going right there. And then I realized that these are really good figures. These are made very well. I think Galoob made them. When I think of Galoob, I think of Micro stuff for some reason. But I do believe they were made by Galoob. And that's a really nice build. You can unscrew them and work on them inside and whatever. So I like this toy line. I'm glad I went in on it, but I'm not going to spend too much money. If I find a couple other cheap Rangers, I'm going to add to it just so it looks like I got a bunch of Rangers just for some fun. I mean, what do you do when there's only like 3 Rangers and 3 bad guys and some horses that don't even exist anymore? They're non-existent. I've not seen one the whole time I've collected Galaxy Rangers. So here we are with Supernaturals, and really the only thing with Supernaturals is that I buy lots of Visionaries, and always there's Supernaturals in it just because the holograms. And like people that are just the non-toy people don't really decipher or discern the difference between these. They can't figure out what is a Visionary and what is a Supernatural. And since there really wasn't a show, there's not a huge following for the Supernaturals. They're cheap. So, like, everything here was like $100 because I did buy a couple lots to get parts and pieces, and so I guess I have a couple extra stuff. But I'm debating whether I stick the extras in there or not. I think this looks better like this than cramming extras in there, so I probably won't. Down here is kind of extra storage. This was going to be something different. These are the frogs that I had to kiss to get my 2 Prince horses. Those are my frogs. They're okay. But one arrived broken, another one broke on me while I was manipulating it. The horse just is a pain in my rear. Very irritating with that horse. But I was thinking maybe I could use those for Galaxy Ranger horses. Maybe I'll do that in the future if I can figure out a way to make sure that they're more stable and stand up on their own. Alright, so looking at some Rambo stuff here. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with this area. I have ideas. Lots of ideas. And anyway, starting at the bottom, I usually keep the base right in front of it. I've been moving the base around, so it's just disheveled. It is just disheveled. So I'm just gonna set it back up once I put it back in. Just everything's falling over because I keep sliding it around out of the way. But as a display, so behind all these card backs is storage. So I might need to just move that storage stuff to somewhere else. I was thinking have a different vehicle with like a little different scene on each one of these shelves, but again, I haven't quite got there yet, so I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. I'd like to get all of these Skyfires. I'd like to get every color of them. I made a red one, I think. I know they made a tan one. It wasn't available in the U.S. I think it was Brazil, and then maybe Argentina. They made a Terminator version that was silver, I think. So anyway, it'd be nice to get my hands on one of each of them because I think to me, it's the best part of the toy line, the helicopter. And I'm finding as I go back and collect 80s stuff, the helicopters were the coolest back in the 80s. And I did make a video about that already. Okay, looking down here. So these Defender 6x6s down here, the problem with those getting the missiles, it seems like you never seem to get the missiles with them. And you've got a way to hold 2 of them in the back. And yet I just try to get as many missiles as I can so I can outfit all mine with missiles, but it's pain. It's pain, definitely is. So moving up, I kind of wanted to display just figures on this shelf, but I figured out how I could do figures and a couple of vehicles, and so that was kind of how I went with it. Here, again, I got the missile launcher with it. getting all these weapons matched up is another problem. Like there are not a lot of resources out there that show you exactly what goes with what, and to me it's just really hard because I didn't have all these. I only had like a handful, so having all of them and getting all the weapons properly. I do have a commando figure, which I think that's all they made was that, and then like maybe a big commando too. But he fits in okay. He works good. It's like a nice little oddity. So moving the tripod up, I would say this is my hardest section of Rambo, because these figures are like the Series 2 hard to get figures. Some never released in the US, like X-Ray. I had an opportunity to buy 2 more X-Rays this year, but they were both broken, and the chances of getting the part you need, a non-broken part, so I just ponied up the money and paid twice as much for one that wasn't broken, but he has a broken gun. These, I didn't realize how hard it was to get the X-Ray, and I probably should have just bought all the broken ones too, just because he's just so impossible to find, so hard to find. And now that I have him, he is absolutely the second coolest one. I think Dr. Hyde is the coolest, but his headlights up and all that stuff, I gotta get batteries and do that. But I'll be talking more about these in the future. Looking up here, more. See, here was my plan. My plan was I want one complete one, 100% complete one up here, and then all the other ones I get used in displays and stuff. But I decided to make this smaller because it's a big toy line. It can take up a lot of space, and I don't want it to just take over the whole room. So I know I've shown my Voltron collection before, but here it is, and I think I'm going to go about Voltron completely different than I did before. I've recently cleaned up this lower shelf here, added some more Panache play stuff. I'm missing Panache stuff. I never wanted to go after it. I mean, I saw it all the time on eBay 10 years ago for a quarter of what they're selling for now, and I was like, I don't need that. I don't have a place for it. And now I'm like, well, I'll make room and I'll make it happen to just complete a toy line that I've been working on for decades now, at least a decade, if not 12, 15 years. But moving it up, I finally got the castle of lions and some extra parts. I think that the castle itself, I feel like it doesn't come with enough stuff. So I doubled up on all of the internal parts to fill it out better. And I think that if you get a castle, you might want to do the same thing. Oddly enough, they're not that expensive. I got parts for really cheap on eBay in 2020. I was surprised. But let's take a closer look at some of these Voltrons. I'm going to go freestyle, freehand, but that's what the Matty collector looks like. That's how big he is. This is the Tron Masters Jumbo from 1998. And behind him is, which I'm hiding them back there, but that's the Playmates one. Like, I recently got the Walmart box set of it. So gotta have a loose one. Really, I like everything loose in here. This is a blend of the Matchbox Die Rugger, which one was that? I forgot what they called it. Metal. And then over here, we have Panache Place. And I have a few of them. Panache Place is a terrible one, but it holds figures. It held figures in the 80s, so that's really good. Oh, plus I have the Panache figures. I got a slew of them back there, which I need to redo all of this, and I'm going to redo this and put the figures down below. Down here, I have Bandai, and both versions. So I have, well, this isn't actually Bandai I sold at Jokoken. This is Fantasy Jewel. I sold my official for like $600, and I said, oh, well, and then when they reissue it for $300, I'll buy 2 more. They haven't reissued it since then. So I'm stuck with Fantasy Jewel, which is not a big deal. And mine's great. Mine works fine. Over here we have the Tron Masters made like their own version, and then they made an almost exact replica of the Matchbox, which is over here. And I have a few of them just for some fun. So yeah, and I've got a few of this guy just because this thing, I got so sick of them showing up broken. Like, this thing would show up broken and cracked, and every one of these I prepared. So before I get into some BraveStarr stuff here, what I think I might do, and I've been thinking about this for a while, is adjusting these shelves and moving stuff around and having BraveStarr go all the way across. That's kind of the mentality where I'm going now with my collection, and then go up higher and have Voltron go all the way across. So I got to figure out how to make that work. I think I figured out how to make it work, but I've got to know I can make it work. And we're talking 3 or 4 hours of gently pulling everything off to not break anything to do that and make that happen. But what do you guys think? Would that look better? Here's my BraveStarr collection, and I got a few things to say about BraveStarr. First off, needs more light and more cowbell. This toy line is actually pretty solid. Aside from 3030 being a terrible QC nightmare, and I think he's just too big, too. I mean, he doesn't match the show. He's just too big. But aside from those two issues with that, it's fun. I like the Fort Carrium. I actually like the actual Carrium itself. I like the figures, the build of the figures. Really, I've only got one figure that's broken, and it was broken when I got it, so I don't really care. I've never felt like I was going to break any of these figures or any of this stuff. I think that Mattel did a good job with this line. It wasn't for me back in the day. I didn't have any of this stuff back in the day, but I started collecting it earlier this year. I thought, oh, that looks pretty good. And then we've got this Thundercat guy here who looks like one of the coyotes in the show. So he's riding one of those. Now, this is something that I like. I like having extra silver horses. So I went after every extra silver horse I could find, and that's where that is. Below it, I actually have my Boulder Hill and the Stagecoach and an extra fuzz. Man, tracking down that stinking fuzz cart was so hard. So when I found a second one, I said, I'm definitely buying it. I don't know why. I just like to have it. Okay, so Kenner Superpowers. This was a lot of work. These figures are a ton of work to do all of this, but tracking them all down. These are not cheap. I thought they were. But with the Superpowers, I think I'm just missing Cyborg. I'm not paying $300 for Cyborg, so that's like a Funko Cyborg or Reaction or whatever they call that stuff nowadays. Moving down here, we've got... This is Matty Collector. I know I'm not into Thundercats that much, but I had to get these. They look so good. So I think I'm in on this whole line. I need to find another place to display it because this is not vintage and shouldn't really be in here. And they don't really accent. I was going to use them to accent my display over there, but I think I'm doing okay with that display over there. Moving over here, we have some Inhumanoids. Just started on that. I'm going to be working a little bit more on that in the future. Getting some background stuff in there and making that shelf look less boring. Now, this is that shelf that's kind of like a little of everything that I just kind of have some extra superpowers. And it's just a mess. This is a mess. The other one's a mess. So I'll put all the mess on one shelf and present it well. That's my new plan. Getting down here and looking at Visionaries. Visionaries is a lot of fun. And there's only 12 figures, 4 vehicles, small line. But way more challenging to get that small line together than you would think. But let's stabilize this thing. Looks really good to have that Dagger Assault. I love the Dagger Assault. And moving down, I like the holograms on it, and they look good. Pretty fun putting all this together. Scrolling down here, this stuff here is fun too. We've got the Cycle, and we've got the Capture Chariot, which the Capture Chariot is kind of like the second most expensive vehicle, and then you have, I think this is the cheapest vehicle of all of them, but getting them with the holograms, that's the problem. Like the hologram on the windshield is almost always missing, and so the holograms are a challenge, especially on the glass pieces. But yeah, there's that. I like that people made stands. I like that people do a lot of stuff with all of these things, like getting the stands, because these things would all fall over. Like some probably have that don't have the stands. And then I got a box, and I've got a bunch of miscellaneous stuff that I kind of crammed in there. Storage is always an issue. Moving over here, I have a Cops shelf. The problem is I need to allocate more space to Cops. I'm proud of myself that I fit the entire collection on this shelf. Aside from the air raids I stuck up there. But see, Bulletproof, I thought he'd be like the most common, is one of the hardest to get. And he's like the main guy. So the boss is kind of hard. There's a little weasel there. And some of these other ones like Buttons McBoom Boom, trying to get his guns, that kind of stuff is kind of hard. This collecting this was fun. It was a bit of a challenge, but I guess you could say I'm not 100% complete. I'm missing a couple of small guns, small accessories, and when I come across them, I'll get them. It's not like an urgent priority. I really do like the air raids, though. So scrolling up, looking at the mask, it looks a bit junky. I need to tighten it all up, clean it all up, and what I need to do is is allocate more space. So tighten it up, allocate more space to other things, because M.A.S.K just takes over the world, and that's just kind of how it goes. There's so much to it, and I like to collect in threes. Yeah, I like to collect in threes. Sometimes like superpowers, I just didn't feel like I needed 3 of all those, but like these, and these are all over a decade old. I've had these a decade. Yes, they're over a decade old. They're over 30 years old, but I've had them about a decade. So it's kind of one of those things, like, I want to get rid of some of it, but I've had it for so long, I don't really want to get rid of it, and therein lies the problem with all of this. I do like how there's that clear variant. That was a lot of fun. I started learning about that stuff like back in 2012, all the variants and stuff, and then I just kind of stopped. Wish I would have kept going, because there's some really rare things I'm missing that I don't feel like ponying up the dough for. Up here, I got some box stuff and some more. I've got all these switchblades and stuff, so lots of fun there. Vortec boxed, and up here I have extra Fort Cariums next to that, and this is Black Series. This has got to go. This isn't vintage, but that's just where I had it, and I just haven't gotten rid of it yet. So one of the things I've done is get rid of all of the gaming stuff that's in here. So it's all vintage toys, pretty much, and not gaming. This area here, I feel it looks really junky. It doesn't look good. So we're going to pan over and see the newer stuff I've done and where it looks better. So my plan for this area, and this whole entire area here, is to get new shelves in that look better, and then do sort of a better stacking. Of course, up top here, we do have vintage G.I. Joe. I did pick up this Superpowers figure from a buddy of mine, toy shop in Oklahoma City. And then moving over here, I do have a NECA RoboCop. Yes, why am I having something new in a vintage? I think something new that accents the vintage stuff. It's not all new, it's just 1 or 2 pieces. I think it really does add to a display. So I'm going to try to incorporate that as much as I can. This RoboCop is all crammed in here, so I'm going to add more space for this, allocate more space for this. So I've got plans for doing that in the future. But it's a lot of fun. I'm also doing, for another Retro Wednesday, I'm doing a restoration on another helicopter. Hopefully it works out, and maybe it looks better than this one. So Silverhawks, for all the money it costs to buy these things, I need to display it better than this. I'm going to do, again, I'm going to move these shelves. I'm going to put new shelves in, move these out into a different area. But this doesn't look good to me. I thought it looked good when I started setting it up. Now I realize how bad it is, so I'm going to be working on that. Again, collecting on the cheap as you can, you end up having some unfinished business here. And Silverhawks, they're not high on my list, so I'm not going to spend $300 on a Mirage. I'm happy with my $150 one, but I need a canopy. But getting out here, this is kind of a bunch of scattered stuff just stacked here. I do have a shelf that I think it's okay. I think you can have a shelf that's just rows of just different stuff. That's kind of a storage and display at the same time. This isn't effective, and this is not the way I've got this is not effective. But the way I plan to do it in the future, it will be effective. Moving over here, this is a lot of modern stuff. You got Masterpiece in here, and just it's not vintage. And to me, I don't even think Beast Wars is vintage. I don't count anything that is 1995 is the cutoff. Beast Wars is 96. So for me, vintage 96 doesn't count as vintage. Some people will disagree with me on that. And those people are like half my age, though. So I guess I agree with them. That from their standpoint, that would be vintage. Moving down here, I got Bionic 6. Now, the thing about Bionic 6 is, a lot of people say, why do you have more than one? I'm planning big displays, but I'm not allocating the space for the big displays. And so I'm trying to rework how I'm going to get the big displays, and you have to populate them with the figures. It just looks silly having a giant playset and 3 figures or 12 figures or whatever. So I'm going to populate it so like each section of the display is going to have several figures. That is the way I envision it. And same thing like with these. I want a display of at least 6 of the yellow quads, so you can have 1 figure on each quad. And that's like a whole other display. So the things I have in my mind, they're not coming to fruition because I'm not allocating the space, and I still don't quite have enough stuff. Now I have done a Retro Wednesday on this playset. I actually have another playset, like I'm parting together a second one in a different area, and I think I could pull that one off. I've got in the area, in the space that I have it, but I got to get back to it. I've got to get back on some of this stuff, but I've been spending a lot of time working with this specific room and all of these displays, so there's that. Over here I have some G.I. Joe and part of an AT-AT. My buddy wanted that part, so that's why I pulled it for him. And anyway, looks junky to me. Basically, I'm just like temporary storing it. This needs to go into my main display, and I will incorporate this into my main display eventually, or pretty soon actually, so I can allocate this space when I change these shelves out and all that stuff. But you're going to see the G.I. Joe display, so no need to talk about that so much. Again, a bunch of junk over here, so we're going to kind of get away from all that. So here we are in the movie theater room, and yeah, that's the movie theater up here. And I've decided to move modern stuff and have some more of the, what would you say, like movie memorabilia kind of stuff, and put all that up here. You know, some stuff that's out now, like Terminator, and I'm going to probably set a shelf of those up. But I really wanted to display my Star Wars Black Series because I keep most of my Black Series stuff just in boxes. What a waste of a toy line to just keep it in boxes, not display it. And the way I like to display my Black Series is with this here, the Black Series 40th anniversary stuff. And then I did a couple of other loose displays in here, so we can kind of look at that. But this is all about vintage. But I do want to point out that the G.I. Joe Classified display that I put together, I need to make it more room because we're going to see a ton of it in 2021, and I want to be able to keep up with displaying it the way I have. So it's kind of not fun if you don't display it. Also, the prints, I have a lot of prints that I've made, and I just kind of lay them out, decide what I'm going to use for backgrounds and stuff. And so that's kind of what I've been doing in here, just lay all my prints and try to figure out exactly how I'm going to set up the future. Now for G.I. Joe and my G.I. Joe display, and I bought my friend Philip's collection. His childhood collection, he kept it in good shape. I'm really pleased with it. So let's take a look at this and how I've decided to display all this. So this is the area where I had my cell barge, and there's the cell barge and the displays, and then I kind of junked up that lower shelf. I have been planning on doing more with my cell barge display, but I'm pretty happy with it. I'm pretty pleased. I've swapped a few things out. I've done some things, and the Bantha does not really belong there. And I'm trying to work on completing more of these trouble bubbles, but more parts down there. But I do like the accents. A lot of people don't like what Hasbro's doing with these play sets, but I think that this really does add to my display that I already had in place. All I did is stick these in here, and I feel it looks so much better. And when they were selling for $9, like, what a deal. When it comes to G.I. Joe, I think I like Cobra stuff the most, just because it looks the coolest. Not that I like World Domination, or no, I don't. Looking at all of this, I try to incorporate the classified stuff in with the vintage. I don't know if that was a good idea. Of course, I can always change it, but I didn't really know how I was wanting to do it. Instead of just putting my sealed ones in a tote and a box and just leaving them there, that's where I've got them. I'm waiting on a bunch of Cobra Troopers to come in. That's why I haven't opened mine. I usually have one sealed and one open when I collect stuff like that, if I'm going to open anything. Okay, so looking at these two Terror Drums, this is the one I already did the review on. This was an extra one that I got from my friend, and it needed some more parts, so I'm still working on getting more parts for it. I was trying to figure out a way to sort of have something as maybe a flight stand. I didn't want to screw stuff into the ceiling to hang them, but I wanted to have a couple of trouble bubbles there. So I tried to find different containers or things I could use. That didn't work out as well as I'd like. Maybe there's a better way I can do it. I'm still working on ideas like that, but yeah, that was a fail. I only put it back in there to show that fail. I'm going to take it back out after this because I don't think it looks good. I'm disappointed. But the cylinders I got in the back, now that worked. See, these cylinders, that works really well. And that was kind of what I was going for. But I was trying to do that on a grander scale in the middle, and maybe I could have put this guy up there, a Rattler up there or something. But one thing about my friend's collection is he didn't have any Tiger Force, which I wouldn't have had Tiger Force in my collection either. So to break up all the monotony, the monotony of the display is Tiger Force with the yellow. I went after a little bit of it. I think it looks good. It's a whole lot of fun. Again, I don't like putting stuff on the floor. I like having it on shelves. But right here, I've got to figure out a better option for that. I don't know if you guys remember the 9 Death Stars project, but now it's turning into a G.I. Joe table. Now, for now, I'm not sure where I'm going with it yet. I'm not sure how deep I'm going to get into the classifieds and all of that stuff, so looking at that. moving over here, we start seeing the display. And you can see I've been reallocating the display to actually accommodate classified. I think I'm going to do a classified display over here on those two shelves and eliminate the rest of those things in there. Down here is storage. I could remove that shelf and have more to look at. But and then of course you see back there my background I'm working on. It stops because I actually didn't know I was going to do this much. I didn't know I was going to allocate this much space to G.I. Joe. That's the problem with G.I. Joe. You have to allocate a lot of space to it. But I do like in here, I always love the Tomahawk and Dragonfly and Sky Striker. Is that Dragonfly? Sky Striker. And then moving over here, the base. I've already done a video about the base itself. And so my whole idea was, in my mind, the base is on the top. We've got the helicopters and stuff. We've got like an island over here with the platform and a couple of these hovercrafts, which I'm trying to complete a second one. Of course, that's harder said than done. It's even harder done than said. But down below it, we have some stuff here, which I got a Sergeant Slaughter shelf. But the whole idea behind the lower shelf is that this is kind of below deck, the base. This is the troops that could get sit out from the base. So that was my idea on that, and my display idea. Maybe it works, maybe it's a fail. Who really knows? But the Sergeant Slaughter, I couldn't believe how hard it was to get a complete Triple T. I thought that would have been easy. My buddy had a bunch of Sergeant Slaughters and no Triple T. And he had the figure that went with it too. So, but yeah, there's my G.I. Joe. Not going to spend too much time on that. Lastly, those $11 Ghostbusters, here they are set up, and I bought a few extras, so I can have some extra parts with them, which looks kind of cool. And if I open up all my extra, I got enough of him that everyone can have a bar plasma beam. So that's something that I think everybody's going to want down the road, and I know I do. But looking down here, this is the Playmobil. Yeah, so I got plasma figures on the Playmobil Firehouse, and I got it for like $10 from someone. Same thing with this vintage one down here. I got this one for $10, and I think that it looks pretty good. It's missing a bunch of parts. To me, it's not worth going after trying to complete it. It's just a stand for my figures. So I really hope you enjoyed my collection overview. A lot of the stuff in this video will be different 6 months from now. I'll probably do another one in 6 months to show the differences and show what all I have accomplished. This is a lot of work, displaying your stuff and not letting it look junky, which it's so easy to just let your collection start to just junk up and become junky looking. It's so hard, and my goal is to make it look good. Enjoy the vintage, and the vintage stuff has been bringing me a lot more joy than the modern stuff. Even though I'm a masterpiece Transformer junkie, this stuff brings me so much joy. I have so much fun with it. Putting these shelves together was lots of work, but rewarding. When I finally say I'm done with this shelf, it's rewarding. And now I look at the done, completed shelves and say, more work I want to do to it, but it'll be worth it in the end. Enjoying your hobby, it's just what life's about. If you're into this hobby, let me know what you think. Did you get any ideas from my displays? Do you have any ideas? Some of the stuff I didn't talk about because it's not vintage, but everything not vintage is getting kicked out. Like and subscribe. Today, Hanger out.